What's up, guys? Rob Perez, Worldwide Wob here, and I want to welcome you in to Sorare NBA's live stream. If this is the first time that we've met, hello, and thank you for your time. I'm an NBA content producer who got his start working as an account executive in the NBA, all the way back when the franchise in New Orleans was called the Hornets at the end of the 2000s. I started talking about the league on this app called Twitter. Remember that thing back in 2009? And well, here we are today. Now let's talk about this show, because the NBA regular season tips off October 24th. That means new Sorare NBA cards are live in the marketplace for purchase, and Sorare NBA managers can now set their lineups for the first game week of the season. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, because I know there's probably a lot of people watching this who are relatively new to the product and or might want some instruction on how to proceed. Sorare is a fantasy sports game that simulates being a pro general manager. You build your fantasy squad from the ground up using ownable digital cards. That's right, you own them. And you play in competitions to win rewards like cash, tickets, signed jerseys, and more. Those competitions, they're free to play. And when you buy your player cards, you get to keep them and use them in contests for the entirety of that player's career unless you decide to sell or trade them. For example, you're not losing those Wembanyama cards at the end of the season in 2024. If you miss out on drafting Scoot Henderson in a traditional fantasy league because one of your friends snatched them up first, we don't have those worries here at Sorare. But there's a lot more to it. So I want to encourage you all to visit Sorare.com/NBA for more information, as well as marking your calendars for October 20th. October 20th will be the grand opening date of my personal Sorare NBA private league, which will have a buffet of prizes to top performers. And coming up right now, right here, we've got some high-level discussions among Sorare executives, never before seen video content with NBA players, as well as a Sorare card giveaway at the end of this stream. And I'll be back with y'all in just a little bit. But until then, I'm going to kick it to Sorare CEO Nicola Julia and community member John Nellis right after this.
What you always say, bro.
Yeah, whatever.
And you just won't quit.
Never.
That's another L coming your way.
Bro, at least I'm on top of the leaderboards.
Yeah, not for long. Come at me when you get some rare cards. Beat that.
Bro, are you kidding me? Yo, you're not gonna believe what I just won.
It's an official signed jersey, my man.
Thanks, Jalen Brunson.
You got it.
Yo, you got something wild. Look.
All-Star game tickets! Yo!
Yo, can I get that? Welcome to All-Star.
Win cash rewards.
Merch, signed by me.
Game tickets and VIP experiences.
Play Sorare NBA.
Fantasy reimagined.
Nico, lovely to see you again. How are you keeping? How's things?
No, look, doing great. I'm very excited to spend time with you. Very excited to share some stuff with the community also that we've been working on. So thank you so much for taking the time.
I'd say we're all very excited to hear what you have to say. But first, how excited are you to watch Victor Wembanyama, fellow Frenchman, playing the NBA this season?
Look, first off, I've been very lucky to watch him live when he was playing in France with Levallois, right? And I've heard also from the NBA, leadership team that's a generational talent, and now he needs to prove, and he's got a lot on him. But I'm very excited, and I think he's gonna have a big impact on the league.
What are the big initiatives in Sorare NBA this year that you're looking forward to launching?
Yeah, for Sorare NBA, we have a couple of very exciting initiatives at launch, and then we have a couple of other exciting initiatives that are going to fast forward, right? I think at launch, what I'm excited about first is the reward and everything we're going to do around rewards. First off, we're gonna introduce cash rewards. So that's something I know the community was waiting for and is gonna be very excited about. We're gonna go beyond that, and we're gonna introduce a lot more non-card or non-cash rewards like merch, like NBA store tickets and stuff like this. We have like a whole initiative about this. So that's number one. Number two, of course, like at the center of what we do, we have the cards, right? And the cards for this new season, they truly look amazing. So I'm very excited about this reveal, and very excited also about the move that we've made to align basically the scarcity means to football. And I think the third big bucket is all the special tournaments that we're gonna introduce to the gameplay. So that's what we're gonna have at launch, and then we're gonna fast follow with a set of other initiatives on the club shop, the collecting game.
You've alluded to the card mint count changing to replicate football or align with football. Why was this such an important decision? And, has this been thought about for a long time? What made you finally decide to do that?
Yeah, look, I mean, first, this is as always like rooted in community feedback, right? This is something I've been reading for a long time, right? And a very popular ask from Sorare NBA players. And like it is very important to me and to the team to preserve the premium element of discounts. And again, then I think the other reason is like simplicity, and I think we need for Sorare NBA also to learn about what has worked with the Sorare football product, and introducing it to the like to the Sorare NBA product, and I think being very mindful about scarcity and the premium element of this products, of this count is something that is very important.
What are the main things you've learned about Sorare as a whole then in 2023, and what would you say are the company's biggest achievements or accomplishments this year?
It's a constant kind of endeavor, right? Like to maintain that link as you grow as a company, as you grow your team, and so on. And in particular, when you launch new products, like we've done, and we were just talking about Sorare NBA, right? Like like you may have the feeling that, okay, you're gonna launch and it's gonna work, but actually like it is like a new company within the company, right? And so you need that constant interaction, that constant feedback loop, and this care and this listening ability that we're gonna keep growing. The second big learning is to be really, really focused on what's gonna make the product easier, simpler, and better also for new users.
What else excites you about the future of the company? Like, where do you see Sorare going from here?
Number one is mobile, right? Like we need to unlock mobile, and like the main features of Sorare on mobile, and including the ability, as I said, like to buy and maybe to more trade, on mobile. I think that's going to be massive. We need to have that simple social game format that's going to be enjoyable by millions of sports fans. And once we have that in place, and that's gonna come shortly, then you are in a position where you can truly market your product, right? Because I think this is something without these fundamentals that would have been kind of a waste, and with these fundamentals in place, then you are in a very strong position to do it.
Nico, thanks a million for your time. I'm even more excited for this season on Sorare NBA now.
Thank you so much for your time as well, John. It was a real pleasure. And to all Sorare managers, Sorare NBA managers, I very much look forward to seeing you on the product and discover all the amazing developments that we've been working on. Thank you so much.
All right, some good discussion there. And that hopefully lets you behind the curtain a little bit on what Sorare has planned for the near and distant future. And while we prepare our next community discussion, I feel like this is a good time to talk a little ball with you guys and give you some insight on how I think this season is going to play out. So let's make it easy. 5 under the radar players, my favorites, who you should be targeting entering the Sorare NBA season, and why. Number 5 is Benedict Mathurin of the Indiana Pacers. His rookie campaign proved one thing. Some people were put on this planet to be doctors, some people teachers, scientists. This man, to get buckets. A supremely gifted offensive talent who has the J.R. Smith consciousness of never knowing what a bad shot is. And the result of which is a lot of usage, a lot of highlights, and a lot of Sorare points. Add Buddy Hield's name being on the trading block, at least allegedly being floated out there. Mathurin's numbers are due to erupt in a big way. Number 4 is Anthony Simons, Portland Trailblazers. You don't get the nickname the Inferno by missing. We all know Damian Lillard is a Milwaukee Buck now, and with him to Wisconsin goes his whopping 33.8 usage percentage he recorded last season in Portland. Some of Anthony's biggest games of his career came when Dame was out of the lineup the past few seasons, and now with Scoot Henderson lined up to be his running mate in that backcourt, all systems go for Simons to become the new face of the franchise. Number 3, Tyrese Halliburton, Indiana Pacers. Is this even under the radar anymore? I guess that's arguable, but we're still going to count it because the Pacers can barely get one game on national television the whole season. But man, that is not from a lack of talent. They've got it. And at the spearhead is Halliburton, who I believe to be the heir to the Chris Paul point god throne one day, with his remarkable ability to always make the right decision, creating his own luck by producing offense not only for himself but his teammates, and always being one step ahead of the defense. Number 2, Naz Reid, Minnesota Timberwolves. How does the perceived third-string center on the depth chart make it to number 2 on this prestigious list? Well, have you seen him play? First of all, he might be the best ball handler on the entire team. Secondly, when Gobert and Cat were out of the lineup last year at different times, Naz was arguably the best player on the entire team, including Ant. And third, he can stretch the floor with a high-level outside shooting ability, which makes him a much more suitable candidate to be closing games instead of Gobert. And finally, he just signed an extension with the franchise with 2 all-star centers already locked up long-term. They didn't do that so that they can keep him on the bench when it matters the most. And lastly, number 1, Alperen Şengün of the Houston Rockets. I am not going to fall as far into the hyperbole that NBA Twitter is in right now, already crowning him to be the next Nikola Jokic, but I'm not going to stop y'all either. Passing, scoring, ISOs, fast breaks, pick and rolls, catch and shoot, free throws, rebounding. There may not be a single liability in this dude's game. He will be putting up numbers this season with career high usage rates. And with Ime Udoka now at the helm, it's hard to believe this is not the time for that man to be unleashed. Okay, sorry, I had to get that off my chest. That's what we got for now. But up next, members of the Sorare NBA community talk shop in a manager roundtable.
All right, boys. Well, before we get into next season exclusively, let's talk about some of our favorite aspects of season 1.
I'll take this. I'll take the floor on this one. The best memory that I've got from season 1, without a doubt, was Kendrick Nunn becoming sort of prime LeBron James for about 2 to 3 weeks and absolutely firing me up the leaderboards and getting me to positions where my gallery should not have been. But Kendrick Nunn with like an L10 and 9 coming out with like scores like 40 and 50 in sort of back-to-back game weeks is definitely the standout point of season 1 for me.
I feel like for me, it was a solid rotation between like Corey Joseph, Wenyen Gabriel, the real like best players in the NBA that were just putting up crazy numbers out of nowhere.
Yeah, looking back on last year, 3 things kind of stick out for me. The first one was a podium finish and watching Aaron Gordon make me come in third place in the rare contender early on in the season. And then just kind of, that twice a week, that hour before lock, that just is hectic. And as much fun as that is, knowing that after it locks that you're not doing that again for 3 or 4 days is just as amazing. And then the last thing would have been taking down the common playoff challenge. Was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, I mean, TST, to your point, I think one thing we all were looking forward to last year, or were wanting more of, were just different contests. And to your point, I mean, I know Sober has kind of hinted that there's going to be a lot more contests this year.
All right, boys, let's talk about some of the things we're excited about for season 2. There are plenty of them.
I think the biggest thing for me was the scarcity announcement. I mean, one of the reasons I've always been big into Sorare was because getting to look at the soccer product and be like, oh, like this is kind of how they did things. I was like, okay, they're not going to just come out and be like, yeah, we're actually doubling the mint counts here. But cutting down from like the limited cards last year, and like they're cutting down so significantly, like from 5,000 to 1,000, and then for the rares 1,000 to 100. Like that is so significant and just gives me so much faith in Sorare moving forward this season. The cards I have will have like actual value and consequence in season 2.
That's fantastic. Another thing I'm hyped about too is the club shop.
I think it's the club shop will be a good way of sort of redistributing some awards out to guys that potentially don't have winning lineups every week, but can build an accumulation over time.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. And as someone who got to go to a basketball game last year because of Sorare, I actually got to go to game 4 of the Western Conference Finals and watch the Nuggets sweep the Lakers. And I met up with another Sorare manager, and it was incredible. And I just feel like the more Sorare provides these opportunities in like game tickets and jerseys and stuff like that, just things that are like a little more tangible for the everyman, like someone who goes to a game and runs into a Sorare manager and they're like, oh, like why are you here? Like that's something that can get people into Sorare. Like maybe they're not the most hardcore like fantasy grinders out there, but they really are like, oh, I enjoy basketball. I would love to play this game, and I would get some actual like rewards that I would really enjoy as a real basketball fan. And I think that's just huge for the long-term sustainability.
That coupled with when you explain it and they go, oh, so what can you win? And you don't have to then explain to them what Ethereum is and then go, oh, it's this crypto. You can just say, oh, you win money. Yeah, you just win money.
Yeah.
Simple as that now. So
yeah.
The beauty of the cash wallet.
Yeah.
I think this entire roadmap really just lowered the barrier to entry for like new users to be like, oh, I'll try it out. I'll get some free common cards and play around with it, because like it seems a lot less daunting now.
Before we get out of here, any players that y'all are excited about this season, excited to own their card and play them? And so anyone you're expecting a huge breakout from and you want to get their card ASAP?
I'm looking forward to seeing SGA establish himself as like a top MVP option for the different levels. Another one is I'm looking to see Christian Brown step up for the Nuggets after they lost some pieces like Bruce Brown. He's got a decent L10 right now. And then one little sleeper pick I have that I was looking at today is Josh Richardson. Going back to Miami, they lost a lot of their depth and stuff. So he's got a really nice L10 right now. And
another guy who I'm really excited about, at least in the early weeks, is Jonathan Kuminga. I think he's going to get some more minutes with Golden State. He's on a L10 of 5, I think, to start the season. So he's not exactly going to be Wemby on a 0, but it's a pretty solid start. I'm excited to see what happens in the pick and roll with Chris Paul in Golden State and how that works with obviously the shooters they have, whether it's going to be Looney who really steps up or a guy like Kuminga.
I think Tyus Jones is like, he's going to get the opportunity he's never had. He is like the highest assist to like turnover ratio ever. Like this guy, like I'm so excited to see him perform and get this opportunity. And I feel like he's being slept on a little bit.
But the guy I really want to pick up is a Jalen Brunson. I think he had a really tremendous year with the Knicks last year. And I think he's going to sort of have a statement season is what I'll say from it. But yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for us. We are so excited for season 2 of So Rare NBA, and we'll see you out there.
What's up, So Rare NBA fans? Bryson here, and today we're talking about 5 mega moves that could shape your So Rare NBA season. From trades to suspensions to storylines, there's so much that happened this offseason, and I'm going to talk about the 5 major moves you need to focus on and the teams and players you can play around and scout for your So Rare NBA team. Coming in at number 5, we're talking about Bradley Beal. He's joined the Phoenix Suns. He's a Valley boy now, and this could spell huge success for one player that happens to be one of the most productive players in NBA history, and that is Kevin Durant. He had a pretty shaky season last year, but was able to pick it up, still put up the normal numbers that KD would put up, but of course, kind of fatigued with the lack of bench depth that the Phoenix Suns had, and ultimately that came back to bite them in the playoffs. But I'm expecting Kevin Durant to have not only one of his best years, but one of his most productive years, and that's one thing you want to look forward to in So Rare NBA. Because of the addition of Brad Beal, there's going to be less double teams on KD, less double teams on Book, a lot more time, attention, and space, and they added other shooters like Grayson Allen, so I expect KD to have an open floor, a lot of one-on-one coverage, and he's going to be doing a ton of good things from an efficiency standpoint. And I see him being one of the top scorers in the NBA, even with the amount of scoring options and talent on the team. So first, number 5, you got to check out Bradley Beal being a part of the Valley of the Sun and how that's going to lead to Kevin Durant's productivity. Definitely a great player that you should be scouting. I think KD is going to go absolutely bananas this year. Number 4, and this one might surprise some people, but it's Chris Paul to the Golden State Warriors. I think a lot of people expected Paul to be waived or released or something. And then all of a sudden, Golden State was like, hey, we're going to keep Chris Paul. And not only are we going to keep him, people were thinking he's going to come off the bench. They're like, no, we're going to start him and slot him beside Steph Curry. So it's almost like they're running 2 guards as the combo point guard, but they're interchangeable. So you're going to see less of Steph Curry bringing the ball up the court and more of Steph Curry running off of screens, getting wide open threes, and playing a 2-man game with Chris Paul. And don't forget, Clay's also lethal. So what you're going to see is a lot of Steph Curry being Steph Curry. I expect him to have another great year, better than last year, because he's playing with a true facilitator around him who can take the ball out of his hands and give him some time and space. And also one to watch, I would say, is Jonathan Kuminga. Those pick and roll screens, he's going to be absolutely deadly. He came back. He's shooting the ball better. He's more efficient. He's going to get a lot of minutes, and I think this is year 3 for him under Steve Kerr. So Jonathan Kuminga and definitely Stephen Curry are going to have an incredible season in So Rare. Going in at number 3, and this might surprise a lot of people, but Ja Morant is suspended. He's not going to be available for most of the NBA season. And what I think happens next is the emergence of a player that is not only incredibly physical, is incredibly talented at shooting the basketball, becoming a better ball handler, and is overall a really strong leader and defensive player for the Memphis Grizzlies, and that is Desmond Bane. This is a guy who is an offensive talent, and to be completely honest, he probably could get 25 to 30 a night. I think he's going to be somewhere around the 25, 26 mark with the addition of players like Derrick Rose and now Tyus Jones not being there. He's going to be having to take on even more of a senior level of leadership, but also the brunt of the scoring. There is also no Dylan Brooks. So Desmond Bane, while Ja Morant is out, this is truly his team. And I think he could even push to be an all-star this year. And this is one that is like a sleeper pick in So Rare NBA. I think if you pick up Desmond Bane, he's going to be an incredibly productive player if you're looking for a guard that's going to come into the game right away and make a difference. Number 2, and this is one that I don't think should surprise anyone, but the Boston Celtics got incredibly strong, ridiculously strong, stronger than they once were, even being in the Eastern Conference Finals last year by bringing Kristaps Porzingis and now recently Drew Holiday into the fold. And what I think this means is more opportunities for Jason Tatum to be Jason Tatum and also Jaylen Brown. That dynamic is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out, but I see a world where Jason Tatum makes another step. Of course, his numbers are already incredible, so I don't see him going up much, but he will take an additional leap. Maybe we see him add a couple more free throws a game, or maybe even an extra 3 or 5 points, but he's going to be in a space where he is even more free-flowing now than he was last year. He's going to get a lot of one-on-one coverage. Porzingis is going to spread the floor as a big that can step outside and shoot it, but can also get down and bang. And when you're talking about Drew Holiday, you're talking about one of the best defending point guards in the league. Arguably, Boston may have the best team in the league on paper, and I think Jason Tatum is going to be ready to take that next step and even push for them to make it to the finals. They're one of my locks to make it to the finals, so I think Jason Tatum is a player you cannot go wrong with ever, but especially this year in Sorare NBA, I think he's going to be an absolute talent. The number one mega move this year, I don't think this comes by surprise to any, but it is Dame. Dame Dollar leaves Portland, and now he is teamed up with Giannis on the Milwaukee Bucks, a place where no one expected him to be before the season started. And now Giannis has an option in the guard position that can not only take the pressure off of him, but can be that ball handler, the distributor, the playmaker, and can shoot the ball from 35 to 40 feet at any time. So I think Dame's going to have a solid year, but I think Giannis is going to have an even better year because you can't double him anymore. How are you going to defend this guy in one-on-one? How are you going to defend him when he's running pick and rolls with Dame and he's going to the rim or he's getting the ball on the wing and he only has one player to beat? Giannis has been one of the most productive players in Sorare NBA history, and that is not going to change. But on the other side of that coin, with all these trades taking place, there's a guy named Scoot Henderson who now has the complete keys to Portland. And I think he's going to be a sleeper pick that most people aren't thinking of, but he's going to be an incredibly productive player. He's a high energy player who can not only shoot the ball pretty well from the mid-range game, but he has a strong knack for getting to the rim and scoring. And he's so athletically gifted, more athletically gifted by far than Dame, and he's going to provide a different dimension to Portland. I think he's also going to come in and be a great playmaker alongside Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, and some of the other players they have out there. So I think that Scoot is going to be probably the rookie that I'm most looking forward to seeing, of course, outside of Wemby, who's also going to be well, and Chet is going to come in and have a good year. So I would say if you can get Giannis, of course, he's one of the most expensive players. Look at him, but definitely look the other direction because Scoot Henderson is coming and he is going to have a great season, in my opinion. So that's all from Bryce's mega moves at the start of the NBA season. We'll be having weekly updates and things happening around the NBA. And until next time, become the impossible. Back to you guys over at Sorare.
I get Steph Curry at point guard. Next is Steph. Then I'm going to put Buddy Hield at the 2. That's our role player, Buddy Hield. I think he fits in right that lineup. And then I'm going to put Franz in there at the 3. I think Franz, one of the best, if not the best from his draft class. Nikola Jokic. And then at the 4, I need a good 4-man. Jaren Jackson, a defensive player of the year. He going to protect the rim. You know, Jokic obviously is MVP, but we need somebody to help him down there, protect the rim, rebound. So I'm going to grab Jaren.
This is Mikal Bridges, and I'm going to pick my Sorare lineup. I'm going to go with Steph Curry. Them threes, I know the threes add up, and he's still going to find you. My next person in my lineup, I'll have to go Devin Booker, just because very efficient what he does, and I know what he likes to get to and all that stuff, and it's tough, really tough to guard him. So I got myself. I feel like I have a good year coming up, just, you know, same thing of balancing, trying to do everything with scoring, assists, rebounding, obviously on defense with steals and blocks, so I think I'd be a pretty good, you know, stat guy when it comes to fantasy. Out there on the wing as well, I'll take Jalen Williams from OKC. I like Jalen Williams a lot. I like how he plays the game. He score, guard, rebound, pass. So I'm going to go with little Jalen Williams on OKC. And I'm going to go big. I'm going to go Nick Clax. My boy Clax, just because I know defensively how many blocks he's going to get and how many rebounds. I think offensively he's going to have a jump as well.
excited to dive in, and we are going to be talking about 4 different NBA players that you may or may not have already seen throughout this video, and take a look at some of the stuff they did this year, and then what are we going to expect from them heading into this year. So let's get started with the reigning Rookie of the Year. He also made an appearance in the FIBA World Cup. We got Paolo Banchero from the Orlando Magic. How are we feeling, Andrew?
Yeah, it seems like Banchero took on like a big role in his rookie year, obviously enough to win Rookie of the Year. From a fantasy perspective, we didn't really see the real peaks that we get from like stats just across the line that are great. But you have to imagine that he's got a full year under his belt now. He's going to take on probably a bigger role for the Magic. And I think we're going to end up seeing kind of an improvement for what we did last year, just in terms from a fantasy side.
Yeah, I'm excited for Paolo. We always see these like big jumps from the great ones in year 2. And like you mentioned too, Orlando's kind of got a condensed offense, right? It's either like Paolo or Franz Wagner. You'll get a little Markelle Fultz, maybe some Wendell Carter Jr., but expecting big things from Paolo. We also saw Paolo play a little bit of the 5 in the World Cup, which then all of a sudden rebounding, block, steals, all of that stuff goes up, which boosts his score a little bit. So big on Paolo. Let's move on. Who do you want to look at next, Andrew?
I want to talk about Donovan Mitchell. So Donovan Mitchell was like one of the best fantasy plays last year, and I think he gets a little overlooked because he's not Luka and he's not Giannis, but he just absolutely stuffs the stat sheet, if you will. And what's great about it is that he'll have just these monster games that can literally win you rewards like almost on its own. And he's got one of the highest upsides, and Cleveland did absolutely nothing to make you think that it's going to be any different this year. That show is the Donovan Mitchell show, and it's got to continue again.
Wait, so you're saying you don't think Max Strus is going to score 40 points a game?
I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to take Donovan Mitchell just leading that team again.
Yeah, it's always nice plugging in someone who can score 71 real life points, as we saw him do last year.
Yeah.
And there's all this like commotion. Like, is Donovan going to go to the Knicks? Was he going to stay in Cleveland? So maybe he's got something to prove this year. And we see a little bit more firepower than we got from him. I'm with you. I love Donovan. I think that's a name. Like you said, people always plug in Giannis, Luka, Jokic, but Donovan's like right there with them fantasy point wise. All right, who are we looking at next?
Let's go to New York, and we're going to go with Jalen Brunson, at least to start, since we were already talking about Donovan Mitchell. But I actually think Brunson could take a little step back this year. I don't mean the Knicks take a step back, but Jalen Brunson just did so much for that team last year. And it looked like by the end, he was spent. And so the team was spent. And they're going to have to do a little more to make sure that the scoring load goes somebody else. Maybe he becomes a little more of a facilitator. They brought in another Nova guy, Dante DiVincenzo, this year, who's another ball handler and can kind of take some of the pressure off of Brunson. And so what may be best for the Knicks is actually worse for our fantasy teams. And so Jalen Brunson, I think, is going to have a tougher time kind of matching his stats from last year, but it might just be better for the Knicks.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love Jalen Brunson. I think he's going to be a great play in like December. Once his like L10s average out a little bit and we get a better feel for what this season's going to look like for the Knicks. I still think they're going to be a really tough out in the Eastern Conference. I think he's going to be great, but I think you're right. It's going to be like spread around a little bit more. So I'm with you on Jalen Brunson. We got one more we're going to dive into, and we're staying in New York. Brooklyn, Mikal Bridges. How are we feeling about him?
Oh, another Nova guy. How about that?
Oh my God.
Yeah, walked right into it. Yeah, so Bridges became just like a different player when he went to Brooklyn from Phoenix. And he has this skill set that I think not a lot of people knew he had. He can take over games. He's a lot better offensively than people gave him credit for. And we saw him have some of these peak scores that can really help from your fantasy perspective. And it's not just from scoring. Like, he rebounds, he assists. He's obviously a great defensive player. And so the only hesitation with him is he's kind of in this opposite situation as Mitchell, that the Nets actually have a number of players who can contribute. And so they play more team basketball, see all their averages for basically every stat are pretty well distributed throughout the team. And so while he might have some of these peak games every so often, I think he's in this situation where he'll just do his work every night. He'll peak every so often, but figuring out when those games are is going to be the hardest part.
You know, I think I would have agreed with you until I watched the FIBA World Cup, and he was like clearly the second best player we had out there. And I was like, wow. So even surrounded by guys like Anthony Edwards, Jaren Jackson Jr., Tyrese Halliburton, Mikal Bridges behind Ant-Man was kind of the guy. He was even more consistent than Ant-Man out there as well. Yeah. And I know you mentioned some of the other guys with the Brooklyn Nets, and like Cam Johnson's great, also played in the FIBA World Cup. Maybe we see Cam Thomas, but I still love what Bridges was in Brooklyn. Like, that was such a different guy than what we saw in Phoenix. And if he's able to continue to do that, I don't know, you might be able to get him for a little bit more of a value, but that will be fun to watch. We're excited to dive in to another season, year 2 of So Rare NBA. Andrew, before we get out of here, where can they find you? Tell us a little bit about So Rare data. The floor is yours.
Sorare Data is basically the home of everything you need to become a better Sorare NBA player. We've got all the stats, all the projections, all the price histories of cards that you need, the lineup builders. We have it all. So head over to soraredata.com and check it out.
Number one has to be the emergence of Anthony Edwards. There were some scary parallels this summer to when Kevin Durant similarly put Team USA on his back to scratch out some tough international victories. And it's no longer if with this man, it is when. And the time is right now. This is a superstar who can single-handedly propel the Minnesota Timberwolves to unprecedented territory in the playoffs. A walking, breathing, scoring machine with more ways to cut through the defense than a Swiss Army knife. But the last time I checked, Karl Anthony Towns is still there. Can they make this work? Number two, the new load management rules. If you're holding unique Sorare cards for any Phoenix Sun or Milwaukee Buck, this is probably your number one. Because the NBA rolled out its new resting policy, which prevents teams from holding players out of the lineup for big national television games or more than 2 qualifying stars concurrently. When you combine this new policy with the 65-game minimum for players to be eligible to win the major end-of-season awards, you can expect superstars to play more regular season games than they might honestly prefer. Therefore, if there is a unique Sorare card of a superstar that you have aspirations to obtain, load management should not be as big of a detriment or deterrent as it has in years past. And number three is the midseason tournament. This is the NBA's attempt at creating the FA Cup of basketball, an effort to make the regular season matter more. The big question is, will it? Every midseason tournament game is going to be played during the regular season and be counted towards regular season win-loss records. And there is $500,000 cash prize per player for winning the whole thing. While that may not seem like worthy incentive for LeBron, KD, and the Steph Currys of the world, last time I checked, there are 15 players on the roster who are not those guys that I just mentioned, or all-stars, or even fully guaranteed, contracted NBA players. That's a lot of dough to them. So yes, for this putting bread on the table, for their brothers in arms reason, I do think the Stars are going to treat these games like it's the playoffs. And as a result, expect bigger minutes played and bigger per game averages for those particular games on the calendar. So with that said, let's hear it from the players themselves, as Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson reveal their Sorare squads for this upcoming season.
My name's Jalen Brunson. I'm making my Sorare squad. And I will start with Giannis, because Giannis is a top 3 player, MVP candidate year in and year out. Then I'll go with Luka. He's always in the conversation, top 5 year in and year out. And then I will do Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges is a player who he can go out and give you 30, or he can give you 3 points and do all the dirty work, and then he's all over the court. I would do Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes is another one of those players. He can shoot 3, he can defend, a guy with high motor. And then to fill out the 5, you know what, I'll put myself. I feel like I'm a leader, and I feel like I bring a lot to the table. Obviously, I can do X's and O's things, but the things off the court, in the locker room, leadership-wise, I bring to the table.
It's Donovan Mitchell. I'm here making my Sorare squad. First, I'm gonna pick myself at the 1. Got Bam Adebayo at the center position. I'm gonna go Jordan Clarkson at the 2. JC's my dog. JC, get you a bucket whenever you need it. Let's go Mikal Bridges at the 3. Mikal's my dog. Mikal does it on both ends of the floor. My 4-man, Victor Wembanyama at the 4. they got to pick one rising star. And I mean, why not pick Victor? You know, he's 7'5", he could be my four-man. He can create, play, make. I can create, play, make, find shots for each other. So it's my five.
First of all, I think we all knew that both players were going to pick themselves, right? But that Donovan didn't take Jalen and Jalen didn't take Donovan is kind of funny because everybody nowadays in the NBA is in business together. The rivalries are kumbaya compared to what they were back in the 90s. So I figured we might get a little Team Sorare pandering going on here. I guess not. I digress. Looks like Jalen's allegiance is to his former Villanova Wildcat teammates and the New York Knicks, which is fine by me because Mikal Bridges may play for the Brooklyn Nets, but it's pretty clear that he, Jalen, Josh Hart, and Dante DiVincenzo are all still super close and deservingly so. You have to imagine them all playing for NYC-based NBA teams is only strengthening their bond. But anyway, we'll see how their squads perform throughout the season. Now it's time for a call to action. For everybody watching this stream live, now is the time to comment with your Sorare username. A winner will be selected at random and receive a surprise Sorare NBA limited card. Terms apply, people. Terms apply. And once you're done doing that, I'd like to extend an invitation for you to join my private Sorare League that is currently pinned to my Twitter profile. The link is right in there. It could not be easier for you to sign up once you're there. Register at Sorare.com/NBA. Create your profile like you would on any other website and start drafting your team. I'll be on Twitter all season, sharing my lineups as well as news about Sorare's marketplace. But until then, this is where we say goodbye. Thank you for joining me on this live stream. And I'd like to personally wish you the best of luck this upcoming season on Sorare, as long as you score fewer points than me. I'm Rob Perez, Worldwide Wob, and I will see you on the timeline.